Well, if that's one part of the BBC's hypocrisy, let's have a look at how they deal with free speech. And a big thank you to the UK column viewer that pointed me at this one, a tweet by Sophie Little, lady from BBC Radio Norfolk. And she was saying that she'd done a final episode in which she'd been critical of the BBC, and that was immediately cut out of the posted audio report. So let's hear what the BBC cut out.
You're listening to Treasure Quest, the final ever episode, with me, Sophie Little, on BBC Radio Norfolk. I hope you don't mind me taking a moment to say something, but something that's always bothered me is when an individual has any kind of platform and they don't use it to speak up for others at a time when they should. So I hope you don't mind me taking a moment on this final show to use this one. Local radio, as I think we all well know, is a vital public service. And it's my opinion that these drastic sweeping cuts taking place to BBC local radio all across the country are not only detrimental to everyone that enjoys switching on their local station and hearing their favourite shows, and detrimental to the local communities who value it and use it, but actually these cuts are unbelievably unfair to those who need local public service broadcasting the most. Those who are lonely and isolated, or those who are unable to leave their house, or unable to use the internet, or unable to pay for broadband or smart devices. Those who not only take joy from company of a familiar voice coming out of their radio, but who truly rely on it to keep going. And if you think that sounds dramatic, I wish you could be privy to some of the conversations I've had with listeners in recent weeks. They have reduced me to tears. The BBC's mission, as defined by Royal Charter, to act in the public interest, serving all audiences. I believe in the BBC. I believe in all that it stands for. It's vital and it's important. But I will say this how I see it. I feel the cuts are ableist, ageist, and they place economic barriers for some people too. And I felt incredibly nervous to say this, thinking about the many bosses above my head and how this goes against the grain of all of the training I've ever had in my 15 years that I've been here. But I remind myself that this is not their BBC. It is our BBC. And like all of our public services, it exists to serve you. And so it must be scrutinised and held to account to protect its own integrity. And while I'm here, can I just say thank you for all of the wonderful moments that we've shared across these airwaves. They have shaped me, and I will never forget them.
So a brave lady, and she mentions that it's difficult for her to do this because of the fear of the BBC.
Okay.